Good morning, freedom marchers, freedom family, freedom lovers, and freedom fighters. It is a beautiful morning. I'm gonna give you guys a minute to get up in here. If the algorithm sees fit to give you guys a notification. And just in case, if you guys are sub to my channel, make sure you have the notification bell on and make sure you actually still sub to this channel as I am shadow banned. I have had multiple videos taken down over the last couple months. I say in total about 6 or 7 videos during my time here on YouTube that they decided to retroactively take down for violating certain shit. And they even tried to get me a strike for medical misinformation, but I appealed it and they granted the appeal. So it is what it is. I'm gonna keep pushing. I know I ain't been on here in a while, so that probably also brings me way down low in the algorithm. So, you know, again, I'm gonna give you guys a minute to get in here before I get started on this beautiful Saturday morning. It is a beautiful Saturday morning. Shit, what can I say?
Speed check reported ahead on I-75 South.
Of course there's a speed check reported ahead on I-75 South. Yeah. Gotta watch those speed traps. A lot of them out here. Anyway. Here we go, loop de loop. I know I haven't been on in a minute. I know I haven't been on in a minute. My family had come to visit me here in Dalton, Georgia. They were here for about a little over a week. We had a great time over Memorial Day weekend. We did some things. We went to a trail or two. You know, we just had some fun out here. Enjoyed their company. Now I'm on my way back to South Carolina. I haven't been to South Carolina. I haven't been back to the house in a couple weeks. So it's good to be able to go back home. Got some shit I got to do around the house. You know, a little honey-do list that I got to take care of. But that's part of the game of being a homeowner. Anyway, it appears that notifications aren't going out or you guys are busy, so I'm going to continue on with the story. So, I don't know how many of you guys are aware that there was a shooting in South Carolina, not far from my house, in Blythewood, South Carolina. It's you know, part of Columbia, I guess. And this 14-year-old boy went to a convenience store and apparently he grabbed some bottles of water. But before he left the store, he put the bottles of water back. Now, the store owner thought he was stealing these bottles of water. Okay, so what did he do? He started yelling at the kid. And because he's a minor, I'm not going to say the name of the kid, but the name of the bitch-ass store owner is Rick Chow or some shit. Rick Chow, Asian store owner. Asian, not that it matters what his race is, you know. But he chased him out of the store. And once the kid was out of the store, the man continued to chase the kid and proceeded to produce a firearm and shoot the kid in the back. Shot the kid in the back. And unfortunately, he died. The kid died, unfortunately. May he rest in power. But, you know, this is just very, very bad. Very bad, you know. The Asian store owner, this Rick Chow character, he went way too far, okay? It's bad enough that the kid wasn't even stealing anything. But he shot him in the fucking back as he was running away. This is the problem. Now, the kid is black, okay? He's a middle school black kid. And, you know, of course, there's the racial component. There's always going to be that racial component when one person does harm to another person and they're of a different race. That's just the way society works these days. But the important thing we have to understand about this is that the kid was a kid, and that the Asian store owner, Rick Chow, is a grown-ass man. I think he's like 54 years old or some shit. And he shot somebody in the back as they were running away over bottles of water. The kid, now he really thought the kid stole 4 bottles of water. And this response is not justified. It's not a justified response to the supposed crime that was committed. 4 bottles of water. It wouldn't even matter if he stole 4 bricks of gold, okay? Or if he thought he stole 4 bricks of gold. If the person who stole your 4 bricks of gold is running away, is it really worth taking a life for those perceived 4 bricks of gold that were stolen? And come to find out that he never even stole the bricks of gold. Okay? Never put the shit back. Picked it up, said, hey, you know what? I changed my mind. He put the shit back and he kept it pushing. 4 bricks of gold. 4 bottles of water, right? It doesn't matter what the merchandise was. It could be 4 bags of diamonds. It could be 4 pounds of fucking, you know, what's the most expensive mineral in the world? I don't fucking know. It doesn't matter, right? The kid posed no threat to that store owner whatsoever, as far as we know right now, right? Apparently there's some surveillance footage. I haven't seen it, but it doesn't matter because everybody who's anybody that was involved in that whole situation understood that the kid was no threat to this man. Now, the store owner had a son that was involved. Okay? The store owner had a son that was involved. And after he shot the kid, after the store owner shot the kid, the son told the store owner that there was a gun, that the kid had a gun. All right? Supposedly, allegedly, the kid had a gun. I find it very convenient. I find it very convenient because if the kid had a gun, regardless if he had a gun, even if the kid had a gun, it wouldn't matter because the kid never threatened the man with the gun. He never pulled the gun out. The store owner didn't know that he had a gun. If the gun is actually his, I'm going to speculate here. I'm going to speculate. This is purely conjecture. There's no basis for this. This is just what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the kid or the stoner or both planted that fucking gun by the kid. How convenient is it that this 14-year-old boy had a gun on him at the time he was shot in the fucking back? Now, him being shot in the back was confirmed by an autopsy report. An autopsy report confirmed that the kid was shot in the back. There's no 2 ways about it. The kid was running away. So, if the kid had a gun, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if he did not produce the gun, if the stoner wasn't aware he had a gun until after he shot him. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Even if the gun was his, it wasn't planted on him by the motherfucking Chow and the son, you know. So there are going to be those, if they decide to finally cover this story, that are going to harp on the gun, right? They're going to try to pinpoint the gun because why? Well, because a black kid was shot. All right, a black kid was shot by an Asian store owner, and so, of course, in every scenario, where there's black people involved, the black person has to be the villain. All right. This is how these people paint this situation. This is how certain individuals paint these narratives, right? They have to find dirt on the victim. Just like they did with Jordan Neely, right? Oh, the Marine is a hero because, everybody was annoyed by Jordan Neely, so he had to do something. Yeah, he might have been able, yeah. Okay, so Jordan Neely's acting erratic. You don't know what he's going to do. He's making all these gestures, appearing to maybe be violent in that moment. Yeah, you might want to restrain him. But to hold him in a chokehold for 15 minutes, listen, at least that's negligible homicide. Negligible homicide, manslaughter, whatever the case may be. I don't know why people are fighting this manslaughter thing. First of all, it's in New York, all right? The Marine killed Jordan Neely in New York. New York don't got no motherfucking I don't even think they got self-defense. It's hard to prove self-defense in states like New York or California. So I don't understand why people are so up in arms about the Marine being charged with manslaughter. Anyway, back to the Asian store owner. This is a whole different situation here. This should be second-degree murder, right? Second-degree murder, meaning it wasn't premeditated, this, that, and the third. But you have to understand, and second-degree murder is holding the understanding that you are shooting an unarmed person with a firearm, with a bullet. Okay, the bullet comes out of the firearm, and if it hits that individual, it causes a lot of damage, and it can seriously harm, injure, or even kill that person. You have that understanding as a person is running away. Yeah, it wasn't premeditated. You didn't say, you know what, I'm gonna kill a black boy today, or I'm gonna kill a boy today. You said, oh, well, the guy's running away. He disrespected my store. He disrespected my Asian honor or whatever the fuck. And so I'm going to shoot him for dishonoring me. This is how these people think. Understand this. This is how these people think. And what do I mean by these people? I'm talking about those of Asian heritage. They're very, very, they behave in a certain way. They have a certain mindset. It's part of their culture, right? They believe heavily in honor, and if you dishonor them, they're very, very feel very disrespected. This is real shit. I'm working on a job site where the owner of the company that we're building this facility for are Korean, okay? They only care about what they got going on. They don't give a shit about nothing else but what they want and what they need and what they have to get finished. You understand what I'm saying? And it's the same, and it's not just Koreans. There are Japanese workers there right now that we built these process lines for these people. And when I say these people, I'm talking about the owners. Okay, listen. So we built these process lines because it's a facility that makes solar panels. So they're building for these facilities in the southeast, where there's a lot of land, all that type of shit. The taxes are great, whatever. They want to build these facilities out here. They're building one in South Carolina, a battery plant down the street from my house, which is a whole nother story that I got to get into. But anyway, these the owner of the property that we're building this facility for is Korean, and they have Asian workers there that are working on the process lines because, I mean, not Asian, Chinese, because there are Chinese equipment in this facility, and then there's Japanese because there's Japanese equipment. So they're working on their own shit, and this is a process line or assembly line, whatever you want to fucking call it. And they don't give a shit about nothing else but what they got going on. Let me tell you that right now. They're rude. They'll bump into you. They don't talk to you. You know, they just walk. These people are machines. Let me tell you. They are when they are focused on what they got going on, nothing else fucking matters. All right? Nothing else matters. They don't care about nothing else. These timelines that they're giving us, right? They keep moving up the dates, right? We're supposed to be doing this on one date, like the first process line. There's 4 different process lines. 4 process lines in this building, and it's actually an extension of another building right next to it. So there's 4 process lines in this building, all right? And the first process line, we actually got the power to it now, right? But they wanted it turned on 3 weeks earlier than was scheduled, all right? So they, not only was the project accelerated in the first place, it was already an accelerated project in the first place, to where we had to work 7/12 for like a month and a half. So not only is it already an accelerated project, but they keep moving the dates closer of when they want shit turned on. And we didn't have to fucking acquiesce to this bullshit, right? We didn't have to. But the general contractor gave in. They were like, okay, we'll try to make it happen. Because, you know, of course, they have to pay for this accelerated. They have to pay every time they move up dates. They have to pay for it. You know, you get a change order and, you know, you get paid extra money. That's how it works, right? Because we're contracted to a certain schedule. All right, well, we want these dates to happen sooner. Boom, we give you a change order. Bam, they give you the money, whatever. And, you know, these motherfuckers can't resist. And so, of course, the general contractor acquiesces to this bullshit, but they're not the ones doing the work. They're the middleman. The general contractor is the middleman. The subcontractors actually have to do the work. The subcontractors actually have to get the work in. So I spent a year in South Korea. So I'm already aware of how Koreans work specifically. I know how they think, especially when it comes to their business and getting shit done. They are focused and steadfast on what they want to get done. They don't give a shit what anybody else got to go through to get it done. And I told them, I said, look now, if we give them what they want, because we didn't have to meet this deadline, right? We didn't have to meet this new deadline. I said, if we give them what they want, they're going to want it even more the next time. So the next process line, they'll want that on even faster. And the one after that, even faster than that. And then the last process line, they're going to want it faster than the motherfucking goddamn anything else in the world. I told them that. I said, this is how they work. They don't give a shit about nothing else. All right. All right. Well, guess what? We met their goddamn demand for the first process line. Okay. Second process line, they didn't say shit really. We got that turned on though. We got that turned on faster than we got the first process line done, and that's why they didn't say shit, because they saw that we were moving faster than the first time. And now all their equipment that they had set, they don't even have it all set right now for the second process line. They're still trying to set the fucking goddamn equipment. Some of it. But what they focused on the equipment that we had to make our power drops to. So they got that equipment set so that we can make our power drops to this equipment. Boom. All the other auxiliary equipment that comes off of their panels, shit ain't even set yet. That's how fast we got it done the second time. I was like, all right now. So, but for the third and fourth process lines, we had to run underground conduit 300 feet down this one road to get to the service transformers from the utility company. So the utility transformers, boom, is down the road. All right, 300 feet. The first 5 transformers were right next to the building. So that was a very short short underground run. This one, you're talking about how many conduits? It's a shitload of conduits, underground conduits, 4-inch conduit, boom, boom, boom. 200 feet down the road, way further than the first 5 transformers. So we got 7 more transformers that we got to get power to from. We got to get all the conduit there. Well, we're going to be done by Monday. We're going to have concrete poured over underground conduits by Monday. Because of this, because now mind you, with all the weather issues that we've had, all the rock in the ground that they had to bust up and blast with dynamite and all this other shit, because there's a lot of rock in the ground, we still got the shit done like that. Just like that. And guess who was in those ditches, in that ditch, and that shit done? A bunch of all black men. Well, a couple of Hispanics. 2 Hispanic people and 8 black men getting this shit cracking. So when they tell you that black men are lazy, nah, we ain't lazy. Anyway, when they tell you, black men or white men, they don't want to do the work, that's why the immigrants are coming to do it, blah, 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 that's bullshit. I got in the goddamn ditch myself to help get this shit done with a bunch of black men. All right. So a southern black men, what they would call the Pookies and the Ray Rays. No. These motherfuckers put in work and got shit done. I will upload some pictures, as a matter of fact, later on, showing you all the underground conduit we had to get in. Why am I talking about this? I'm just trying to give you guys the mindset. The mindset of the Asian, okay? Now, there are fundamental differences between the North Koreans, South Koreans, the Chinese, the Japanese, this, that, and the third. But there is one fundamental similarity. There's one fundamental thing that they have going on, all right? And it's their aspect, an aspect of honor that we don't necessarily understand here in the West. If you dishonor them, right, they will take that as an affront and you will be their mortal enemy. Understand that. And they don't give a shit about none of the consequences they will suffer due to you acting out on that dishonor, right? They don't give a shit because you have dishonored them, like I said. And so this is what I'm thinking is going on with this Rick Child character. Oh, you gonna take my motherfucking water from my store that I put in blood, sweat, and tears to build and to maintain, and you gonna run? Oh, no. You ain't running from this. You have dishonored me, and I'm going to do something about it. That's what I think went through his fucking mind. Because that's how they act. That's how they are. They're all like that. You understand? As a matter of fact, I'll give you an example. Like I said, I worked in South Korea, and I was in the military in South Korea, and we had rock soldiers. We each had, like, each platoon had 2 rock soldiers. All right, so I had a rock soldier in my freaking team, on my team. His name was No. Yep, N-O, that was his name. But yeah, these people are different, man. Anyway, so in terms of what I was saying about my job, right? There is this South Korean liaison person between essentially the contractors that are building this facility and the owners of the facility, right? His name is Sam. Sam sent an email to the project superintendent, the electrical project superintendent, saying that if we can get this done by a certain time, talking about the first process line, if we can get this done by a certain time, I will bring honor to this, that, and the third. I'm trying to tell you, I'm not bullshit. He was talking about goddamn honor and how, he had to bring honor to the company and this, that. It was wild, man. But I told him, I was like, that's how they operate. That's how they get down. That is how they get down. I swear for God, that's how they get down. All right. And we're just talking about building a facility that churns out solar panels. We're not talking about a goddamn a war. right? We're not talking about, we're talking about solar panels. That's what we're talking about, right? That's what we're talking about. But they want shit done like that, and they don't care. They will cut corners. They will cut corners. It doesn't matter what consequences may come of them cutting corners, because just like I said, I'll use another example from my job. We turned on the process line. So we had power coming from the switch gear in the electric room, the main electric room, to the panels on the process floor. And from there, it goes to their equipment out in the process line, okay? And once we got everything turned on, everything was approved, blah, blah, blah. The inspector passed everything, whatever. And everything came on, properly and turned out right. We turned over the goddamn panels. The panels no longer belong to us. The switch gear no longer belong to us. Well, the switch gear is still in our possession, right? Until we get CO, which is certification of occupancy. Anyway, but the panels, the process panels, it's theirs. Well, when we have panels running that are ours, if we turn some shit off, we gotta lock it out. Meaning, we put a lock on the goddamn switch that turns the breaker on and off. So, because if we have to work on that equipment, well, we don't want somebody coming in and turning the shit on while we're working in it, because we can get electrocuted to death. Straight up, like, if we're working on that equipment, we don't want nobody turning that shit on. So we'll put a lock on the switch. These motherfuckers don't do that. They'll just turn it off and go work on the equipment they're working on. They don't lock their shit out. They don't give a shit. They don't want to take 3 minutes to put a lock on their switches. And there's nothing we can do about it. It's their switch. It's their shit. They're responsible now for that. I'm just giving you an idea of how people, certain individuals and certain cultures think. All right. Korea, Japan, China, these are homogenous countries. What does that mean? That means that it's not very diverse. They're all essentially, they all look the same. Essentially, they're all Korean, right? They're all native Korean. They're all native Japanese for the most part. Not all of them. Of course, you got people that come out, and you got people that live there that aren't that. But the vast majority of the people in those countries are the same, right? They're the same. They're the same ethnically. They're the same racially. They're the same culturally. So I'm not using hasty generalizations here. I'm using valid generalizations. When I say these things, these are valid generalizations because of my experience, of being over there. Of course, it's anecdotal, but if you study the cultures, you will see that they are big on this whole honor thing. They're big on this whole get shit done by any means necessary, defend their honor, this, that, and the third. As a matter of fact, with the Japanese specifically, if a Japanese person feels like they have dishonored their family or dishonored something, they will kill themselves. It's common practice in Japan. That's why they have the highest suicide rate in the world. Okay, if they feel like they have dishonored somebody, or they will hamakai, I forgot what they call it, where they will stab themselves in the gut, which is not the most pleasant place to end yourself, right? I mean, I don't know if they all do that now. They probably do use different means now, but it's part of their culture. If you dishonor your family, if you dishonor somebody, if you bring shame to yourself or to somebody else, I mean, you can kill yourself or die in battle. That's, but if there's no battle to die in, then you offend yourself. That's part of their culture. I say all that to say, this Asian man did not give a shit about whether or not the boy would die. This is what I'm thinking. This is pure speculation. I think that he felt dishonored by the 14-year-old boy because you came into my store and you stole something. So I am going to avenge that dishonor. That's what I think. That's why do you think Asians in these beauty supply stores go so hard when they think somebody's stealing something? You know what I'm saying? Like, put them in headlocks, body slam them, kick them, punch them. Like, it's not because they stole a thing. It's not because, oh, well, I might lose some money. Oh, they stole from me. They stole the product. They don't give a shit about the product. What they give a shit about is you have dishonored them. Yeah, seppuku. Yeah, whatever. So that's what I'm thinking happened. I don't even think it is a racial. I don't even think it's a racist. I don't think the guy is racist. I think just somebody stole from him. I think he would have did it to an Asian kid. I think he would have done it to anybody. I don't know. Now, will certain perceptions of certain colors give them the impression that they stole something, even when they didn't? Perhaps. Maybe he thought, oh, here this black kid is in my store. You know, sometimes how somebody looks, you know, the color and all that shit, the race of the individual can give you this idea about them, you know. So, yeah, maybe there was that. But what I'm saying is, he might not have, if there was a white kid, he might not have thought that the white kid stole something. But if he did think the white kid stole something, he might have still done the same shit. Right? But this is how these people operate. And I'm not saying it's right. It's definitely wrong. And he got to pay for it. He got to get that murder charge. He got to get that murder conviction. That is the only proper way to get justice for the young man, the young 14-year-old boy. That's the only way, in my mind. But that's just what it is. Now, I find it very interesting. Pretty big story. Good amount of media coverage. But not a lot of people on YouTube are covering this. As a matter of fact, the only YouTube creator, the only independent YouTube creator that I have seen talk about this situation was Anthony Brian Logan. That was it. And his take on it was, I agree with his take. His take was basically that the motherfucker was wrong. He was wrong for shooting the kid in the back, point blank and period. And he even brought up the gun. You know, the boy didn't threaten the guy with the gun. He didn't even know he had the gun, but he shot him anyway. So, you know, ABL, I agree with ABL's take on the situation. I just find it very interesting. If ABL is covering it, then everybody else knows about it. If ABL knows about it, these other people in the conservative space and even the liberal space know about it. But why are they not talking about it? Why aren't they talking about it? Why aren't they covering it? Why aren't they giving their opinions on it? I can speculate. I can speculate in regards to why the liberals aren't doing it. I can speculate in regards to why the conservatives aren't doing it. Let's talk about Anthony Brian Logan, not Anthony Brian Logan, Brandon Tatum. I don't think there's enough there for him to shit on the black person for it, right? If he can't find a way to demonize and villainize the black kid, he ain't gonna bother with it. You understand what I'm saying? Because he can only always, when he covers situations like this where black people are involved, he can only ever demonize the black person. He must find a way to demonize the black victim. Always. There's no exceptions. I have never seen him give an original, balanced and unbiased take in these cases. So, because there is no black person to villainize thus far, he is not going to cover this story because he must demonize the black person. That's the Brandon. That's why Brandon Tatum is not talking about this. Unlike Anthony Brian Logan, he does not have to demonize black people. As a matter of fact, it's been a while since I've seen ABL shit on black people in that regard. Like, it's been like a couple years, right? Where he goes out of his way to demonize the black person. Anthony Brian Logan is a lot more balanced than Brandon Tatum. You know, there's still a lot of things I don't agree with Anthony Brian Logan about, but for the most part, he's a lot more balanced than Brandon Tatum. And he's pissed off his audience a few times. His audience don't like when he doesn't demonize the black person, right? They don't like when he speaks truth about certain race relations. For example, with Just Pearly Things situation, he did not take the side of the Pearly Things. When the Pearly Things was being clearly racist and racially insensitive and a racist motherfucker, he called it out. Oh, and his audience lambasted him. He didn't give a shit though. He didn't change his position. And that's why I respect Anthony Brian Logan. I respect him a lot more than I respect Brandon Tatum. I respect him a lot more than I respect even the Clown Shoe Lucas. Anthony Brian Logan is a lot more respectable than the Clown Shoe Lucas, the Amazing Lucas, whatever you want to call that idiot. You know, and this is why Anthony Brian Logan may never hit that 1 million subscriber mark. All right. I don't think the algorithm is fucking with him too much. I don't think they're shadow banning him. I just think that certain, he's already built an audience of conservatives, of a conservative white base. And unless he goes all in like Brandon Tatum with his hatred for black people, right? Because let's just face it, Brandon Tatum hates black people. All right, he's a self-hating black bastard. Anthony Brian Logan is not. So he won't hit that 1 million subscriber threshold, let alone the 2 million subscriber threshold that Brandon Tatum hit. And Anthony Brian Logan is essentially in league with Brandon Tatum. I mean, they are in the same, they've done podcasts together and all this type of shit. But he'll never get Brandon Tatum's audience because he does not go hard enough against black people like Brandon Tatum does. Brandon Tatum is the ultimate Uncle Ruckus. You understand what I'm saying? He is Uncle Ruckus made flesh. That's what Brandon Tatum is. And this story is just not. Now let something come out. Let's say that maybe on the surveillance video, before he was shot in the back, the kid pulled out his gun. Let's say that. Let's say the kid felt like he had no other recourse than at least try to defend himself, pull out his gun, but he's still facing in the opposite direction of Rick Chowface, and he still gets shot in the back. Well, if video surveillance shows that a gun came out before he was shot, Brandon Tatum will hop on this. Now, I'm not hoping that the kid did pull out a gun at all. But, if it comes out in any form or fashion that the narrative wasn't as clear-cut as originally stated, due to surveillance footage, whatever, let's say the black kid said, "Fuck you, Mr. Chow," and ran out of the store. If he said, "Fuck you, Mr. Chow, I ain't steal shit, you Asian bastard," before he ran out of the store, Brandon Tatum will hop on that and use that to make the victim the motherfucking aggressor. He'll say, "Oh, he shouldn't have went off on the Asian man. It was justified." You'll see. If he decides to take up this, it'll only be so that he can be able to say the shooting of the 14-year-old boy in South Carolina was justified. Mark my words. On the thumbnail, it'll say justified, or it was justified, or justified with a exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point. We always know if he puts justified and question mark on his thumbnail, it's always going to be yes. It's going to be yes. It's going to be yes. Unless, let's say, a black cop at the Capitol shoots Ashley Babbitt. Only then, and only in that case, is it not justified because it was a black cop shooting a white woman. It was a black cop shooting a white woman. The white woman was climbing through a window. I'm not going to speak on whether or not that was justified or not. I'm just telling you, that is the only time I heard Anthony Brian Logan go against the cop. I mean, not Anthony Brian Logan, Brandon Tatum. When Ashley Babbitt was killed by that cop, it was not justified. Even though there have been cases where black people were shot to death by white cops in less precarious certain situations where they weren't even half as threatening as Ashley Babbitt. And I'm not saying Ashley Babbitt was threatening to the cop. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Like there was a Tatiana Jefferson in Texas was in her own home. And this is why Brandon Tatum doesn't cover this one. A Tatiana Jefferson in her own home was shot to death by a cop because some idiot neighbor called for a wellness check, and the stupid ass cop bypassed the front door, went around the side, sneaking around and shit, and shot a Tatiana Jefferson in her own home through a window because she picked up a gun because she heard a noise and thought that she was being threatened. Okay? The cop didn't announce themselves. They didn't knock on no doors. They just crept around. What the fuck is wrong with these fucking pigs? Anyway, you know why Brandon Tatum didn't cover that story? Because he could not demonize a Tatiana Jefferson. At least I don't think he covered the story. I know Anthony Brian Logan did. And Anthony Brian Logan kind of tried to justify the cop shooting. Like, oh, well, she picked up a gun, blah, blah, blah. Well, he wasn't supposed to be creeping his ass around her goddamn yard anyway. But he was supposed to come back to that story. He never did. But I will say, Brandon Tatum never covered that. If there is not a black person to demonize, if you cannot demonize the black victim in the scenario, Brandon Tatum will not cover it. But he will cover it if it turns out that kid showed an inkling of aggression toward that Asian man. Oh, trust me, he will cover it like a motherfucking blanket. Goddamn it. He'll cover it like a blizzard in motherfucking Minnesota in the middle of goddamn winter. He will cover it like that. And he will shit on the black kid just like he shat on Tamir Rice. Tamir Rice was playing with a toy gun. His idiot neighbors, idiot neighborhood people, they thought I don't know what the fuck they thought. But they told the cop it may be a toy gun. They think it's a toy gun, but he's waving around a gun. They think it's a toy gun, blah, blah, blah. And he's pointing it at people. Guess what? That's what kids do with toy guns. They point it at people playfully, and they go bang, bang, right? They go bang, bang, and you're supposed to pretend like you're dead. You don't know the game? They go bang, bang. You have to pretend like you're dead. That's how you operate when a kid with a toy gun is running around pointing it at you. And these goddamn 911 callers, they knew that Tamir Rice had this. It was a fucking toy gun. They knew it was a toy gun. If they could tell the cops, I think it's a toy gun, they know it's a fucking toy gun. But the cop rolls up completely against protocol, If you think there's an active shooter situation, you think there's a motherfucker armed and dangerous person, you don't pull up right next to the motherfucker in your car and get out right in front of him and try to shoot him. If you believe that they're an actual threat, you don't pull up right next to the threat. No, you stand off and you wait for backup. No, this pig decided he was gonna kill a little Negro boy that day and pulled up right. I have the perfect justification to shoot me a Negro. That's what I think. That's what I think. This is what I think. Yeah, the cop got off, whatever. But because there was a way to demonize that little black boy, Tamir Rice, Brandon Tatum damn sure did. He damn sure. That little black bastard shouldn't have been raving, blah, 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 blah. Like your monkey ass never played with a toy gun and pointed at people. Listen, the first time I heard about, and this is when I stopped, the first time I heard about a black boy getting killed by a cop for playing with a toy gun, I was like maybe 6 or 7 years old, living in Compton, and this happened at a park in Compton. As a matter of fact, I think it happened at Cypress Park. I lived down the street from Cypress Park. And my mom said, they killing little black boys for playing with toy guns. Your ass ain't doing it no more. I couldn't play with a toy gun. And that's when they changed it to where it had to be painted orange on the tip or whatever to indicate that it's a toy gun. That's when they made that law or whatever in California, at least. That was like in the 80s, like 84, 85, 86, whatever the fuck. So at that point, I stopped playing with toy guns outside, whatever. Well, that's a damn lie, because I used to play with the damn BB guns that were all black. No, I didn't stop. But that was my first time hearing about it. But the cop got trigger happy. And because the cop got trigger happy in Compton one day, well, guess what? That ended a lot of fun for little boys and girls. Not just black boys and girls, just any kid. Like, oh, we can't play with toy guns anymore? We can't play outside with toy guns? We can't play cops and robbers and Indians and cowboys outside? Like, these are they have, the fuck, man? Why are we breaking so fucking hard? This is fucking ridiculous. These motherfuckers, oh my God. Oh, these motherfuckers. Like, they see someone on the highway, like, mind your fucking business and keep driving. I don't understand this shit. Anyway, you know, the 80s and the 90s were the best decades for childhood. I'm just come out and say it, man. The 80s and the 90s were the best motherfucking decades for childhood. I mean, we could play outside. I was out, like, not like today, man. Not like today. It's a whole different world. I had way more fun. At my children's age, I had way more fun than my children have now. Although, it actually changed when I moved to South Carolina. Because my kids I'm very comfortable with my kids going outside in my neighborhood to play outside without my supervision. Just because it's just a different situation down here in my neighborhood. My neighborhood's a really good neighborhood. It's a diverse neighborhood. There's black kids, white kids, black families, white families, for the most part. It's just black and white families. And they all play together, all the kids. So my kids just go outside and they can go outside and do whatever the fuck they want. So it's a little, but I will say in LA, if my kids were in LA right now, I would not be comfortable with them going any goddamn where without one of us being with them. But now, yeah, they can go outside. They go outside, whatever. It is what it is. Anyway, it's just a different world for children these days. It's just a different world. I mean, they have to face so many more serious things than I did when I was a kid. Of course, motherfucking traffic in motherfucking Atlanta. Of course. These motherfuckers, man. Oh my God. Why does 22 minutes have to be added to my fucking trip? And I need to know, why are all these Why are all these lanes closed? They closed 3 lanes, including the carpool lane. For what? Why are 3 whole lanes closed? Look at this. Why? 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 Why is this happening right now? For what? What's the purpose? See this bullshit? Ugh. I'm having triggering flashbacks from, oh, my time jumped up another 10 minutes. Oh my God. I'm pretty pissed right now, y'all. Like, this is fucking ridiculous. Should have took my ass through Greenville. Unbelievable. But no, I was like, oh, it's Saturday. Shouldn't be too bad. But it's fucking Atlanta, so that's what I get. That's what I get for coming through Atlanta. Motherfucker, man. Anyway, it is what it is now, right? Had 30 minutes added to my fucking trip. What are you gonna do? Anyway, so yeah, that's why conservatives like Anthony Brian Logan and all these other clowns, Tim Pool, whoever else, they won't cover it because they can't demonize the black man, the black boy. Not yet. Let some information come out though, mind you. Mark my words. Now, why aren't liberal, creative? Well, maybe some. There might be some. I haven't seen anything, like I said. I think that it's because they don't want to demonize the Asian, right? They don't want to demonize the Asian in favor of the black, right? So that's why they're not covering it, because they don't want to have to go after the Asian man, right? You know, because of course we do know that they do favor the Asian community over the black community. It's unfortunate that you have to favor one community over the other, but you know, they make laws to protect Asians specifically. They never made a law to specifically protect the black community, right? The Civil Rights Bill wasn't just about black people. The Civil Rights Act wasn't just about black people. No, it was about whatever. Y'all know what I'm saying. If they have to point out the fact, they don't want to do that. They don't want to go after the Asian community, so they're not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. You see what I'm getting at? People can't be real and honest about a situation. They want to inject race into it. Even when they tell you that you're a race baiter, all this, that, and the third, they can't see nothing but race. They can't see nothing but race. They can't see anything but race. So they can't cover it just because a grown-ass man shot a 14-year-old boy in the back. That's not enough. That's not enough. You know, if there's if there's an Asian shooter and a black victim, it has to be a certain circumstance surrounding it in order for them to cover it. Because if it's just a straightforward, you know, a wrongful shooting, then they're not going to give a fuck about it. They have to sensationalize the story. You understand what I'm saying? This is what I'm telling you. Pass the energy. Thanks for passing. I appreciate that. I guess they want to keep the Stop Asian Hate trend. Exactly. And this just points to the reality that the black community has no power in this country. It has no power in the world, and we have to. That's just what it is. There's always going to be race involved. There's always going to be a racial component when people of different races interact with each other, and there's a controversial shit happen. If it's a controversial situation and there's opposite races and there's different races involved, they can't help it. It's part of the human condition right now. Why is it part of the human condition? Because for whatever reason, the differences we have in each other can be celebrated and respected. It has to be a negative component, right? It has to be perceived negatively. And the positive shit that they do see, they have to co-opt it. They have to, what they call that word when you appropriate, whatever, you know. But it can't be a celebration, an acknowledgement, and a respect of differences. There always has to be like, oh, well, you know, this group cannibalized and that's why we slaughtered them, and this group was slaughtering the other group, so we slaughtered both of them to save the planet, whatever the fuck. You know, this whole narrative with you know, the Native Americans, right, the indigenous folks, especially in Southern America, right, where they tell you, according to them, you know, these were savages. They were eating each other. They were doing cannibalistic rituals. This is all just to justify the slaughter of those people, or the enslavement, or the displacement, right? The raping of resources of these people. Like they have to justify it. Just like with the slavery thing, with the black slavery thing. Oh well, Africans were enslaving them and they were selling them to white people and this, that, and third, and you know, that's why it's okay for us to bring them over here and whip them and hang them and tar and feather them and, you know, pour honey on them and let bees attack. Like, to justify the cruel behavior, the cruel, inhumane behavior, we have to find a way to blame that group. We have to find a way. So let's say the African slaves, let's say the Africans actually enslaved their people and sold them to white settlers and white travelers and white, listen, they weren't, there's something we need to understand about that, right? It wasn't so much slavery as it was thralls, right? They weren't slaves as much as they were thralls. There's a little bit of a difference, right? Thralls are like prisoners of war that are assimilated into that society. Assimilated, right? So let's say one tribe warred against another tribe. Now this happened even in white culture. One tribe would war with another tribe. Boom, that tribe won. They were prisoners of war for a period. But they were assimilated. They were brought into that culture. They had to assimilate into the culture, because guess what? That tribe won. That tribe had dominance and conquered that other tribe. So now you have to live the way of life that we live, at least. You know, hell, perhaps you can even participate in your own culture, but you still have to follow by our rule, whatever the case may be. Right, and guess what? Your children are not slaves. They are part of our society now, right? They are productive members of our society. That's what happened, right? All over. Yeah, you had servants, right, and things like that. Indentured servants. Let's understand the difference, because a lot of the people that came over from Africa, right, were indentured servants. This is what they won't tell you. They'll say that they were sold into slavery. No. They were indentured servants, right? They had a certain understanding. Now, we didn't have social media. We didn't have motherfucking cell phones. We didn't have satellite phones. We didn't have internet. We didn't have ways to communicate, and we didn't have an information superhighway. All right. So if you put your people on a boat to go to America with the understanding that, okay, they're going to work for resources, and they're going to bring them, and we're going to help enrich our country as well. And those indentured servants that are going with you to America are going to bring back bounty for us as well, right? Indentured servitude, right? We need workers to help colonize and rape the resources of this new land that we found, and that we're in the process of slaughtering the Indians for, the Native Americans, the indigenous people. We're in the process of slaughtering them and taking their resources, but we need help. We need help gathering those resources. We need help building colonies, and yeah, we'll help you enrich your countries. Indentured servitude. So they'll send indentured servants with these people to America with the understanding that these indentured servants were not slaves. Initially, they weren't thought to be slaves by their African kings and whatever the fuck. And so what happened when they got there, though, they were turned into slaves. And these African leaders did not know necessarily that they had become slaves until it was too late. You understand that? But that's not what they're going to tell you. They're going to say, oh, they sold their own. No. They had an agreement to send indentured servants to America, just like the Irish, okay? The Irish had indentured servants as well. As a matter of fact, the African indentured servants and the Irish indentured servants were equal. And so that's why they'll tell you there were Irish slaves. No, they were not Irish slaves. They were Irish indentured servants. But when they came to America, their treatment was less than ideal. All right. And so that's when you find that the Irish and the black slaves were rebelling together, revolting together. All right. But what happened? Well, the Irish were given a fucking promotion. They said, okay, you ain't got to be we're gonna pay you now. Matter of fact, we're gonna give you more responsibility and more power. We're gonna make you overseers. This is what happened. But no, they don't want to tell you that. They don't want to tell you that they came over here initially as indentured servants. No, they ain't gonna tell you that, because they have to keep up the narrative that, oh, well, the chattel slavery in America was justified because, they sold their own people into slavery. No. Now, did that maybe happen in some African countries? Did some of them have the understanding that, oh, well, you turned our people into slaves when they got to America, but we like this money that you bring in, so we're gonna, that might have happened, yeah. Here's another thing that needs to be understood, right? Here's one thing that needs to be understood is that, oh shit, damn it, I fucked up. God damn it. I fucking hate Atlanta. Oh no, I didn't. Did I fuck up? Yeah, I did. Many of the slaves that were here, many of the black people that were here were not brought from Africa. They were already here, right? That's something else they're not going to tell you. There were already black, there's a lot of indigenous tribes or whatever in America that were full of black people. They're not going to tell you that. They're just going to tell you that, oh yeah, millions of slaves were brought over from Africa. No. That's not how it happened, right? That's not what happened. Most of them were already here. There is no way right? If you look at it, if you look at how they had to travel, how difficult it was to travel across the Atlantic Ocean with the type of ships they had, you know, and the number of ships they had over that period of time, there was no way that they could have brought millions of slaves. No. There were black people that were here, that traveled here long before the first European ever set foot on the continent of the North America and South America, right? Matter of fact, if you look at the Taino tribes and the tribes out of Florida and the Caribbean were already black. The Caribbean islands were already black. They weren't, you know what I mean? They were already occupied by black people. See what I'm saying? They were already occupied. They were already, you know what I'm saying? They just came in and enslaved them. They didn't have to bring them from Africa. You understand what I'm saying? And they killed a lot of them, but I mean, that's what happened.
Use the right lane to take the exit onto Monroe
Black
Drive,
people were already exploring and they were already doing that. They were already here. Matter of fact, some of the oldest bones, the oldest bones ever found, the skull specifically in South America, were that of a Negroid skull. It was a Negroid skull. You know what I mean? Negroid is black. The oldest skull ever discovered, ever found in South America was that of a Negroid skull. Not a Mongoloid skull, right? Which is what indigenous, are perceived to be. People think, it's only the red Indians. No. The Native Americans, they were not just Mongoloid. They were Mongoloid and Negroid. You understand? So there are a lot of lies.
Use the left lane to turn toward I-85 South.
There are a lot of lies that have been told to justify enslavement in America. Oh, well, they're Europeans enslaved each other, Asians enslaved each other, the Arabs enslaved each other. As a matter of fact, the worst slave trade, from what I understand, is that of the Arab enslavers of black people. They were treated. Oh man. Anyway, so what is the point behind all this that I'm saying, man? The whole point is, for whatever reason, I don't know this. There is this hatred for the black community by so many that it's hard for me to wrap my mind around why. Right? Is the black community, are black people that much of a threat to anybody else? Like, how big of a threat can we be? I know we're the best at sports. I know we're the best at this. Listen, when left to our own devices, we contribute greatly to societies. And black people are the most forgiving people in the world. They are the most forgiving. They are the most naive. We are the most naive group of people in the world. People have wronged us. Different groups have wronged us over many, many hundreds of years. And we still find a reason to fuck with these people and try to contribute. We're the most forgiving group of people in the world. You know what I'm saying? We are. Like, it doesn't matter how wrong you do the black community. We must find a way to still fuck with y'all. Like, hey, yeah, I know, yeah, we know you did this, that, and the third. No. We are. It's not that way with the Jays, right? The Jays, you fuck with the Jays, ain't no forgiveness. You're fucked for life. Asians, you're fucked for life, right? Any other group except for maybe white people. White people and black people. Now, white people, what are they supposed to forgive somebody for? No one has done anything to the European. necessarily for them to have forgiven them for it. Like, let's just be real about that. So I don't think the white community has ever been put in a position where they had to forgive somebody for such horrendous acts towards them, right? Unless you want to consider the Jays to be white, then that's a whole different story. We're talking about different ethnicities here. But what I'm getting at is black people are the most forgiving to any other group except for our own. Black people will never forgive black people for something that we do. You know what I mean? Like, it's it's hilarious to me. I don't understand it. We don't have, like, we have, I don't know any other group that has so many self-hating people within that, you know what I mean, in that group.
In 2 miles, take the exit.
I mean, I'm talking about if a black person is self-hating, they are self-hating, right? We have more self-hating people in the black community than any other community, and I don't understand that either. Right? Why is that? Why is it that some black people are so hard up to gain acceptance from other communities? Why is it to our own detriment? To our own detriment. We'll turn our back on our own people because we're trying to gain acceptance and some sort of acknowledgement and something. What are we looking for? What are we looking for from these other groups? What's his why are we seeking validation? Is that what it is? Are we so desperate for validation from other groups of people that we'll just say fuck our own people? Why is that? Why do we thirst for acceptance from people with power? Why are we so thirsty for that as opposed to gaining our own power? You know what I mean? We so desperate to gain validity and validation from groups with power that we just say, you know what? Fuck gaining our own power. Fuck coming together to build for our own.
Stay in the third lane.
We just want to gain. We just want to be accepted by these people with power, and we'll do whatever it takes. I don't get it myself. I'm all about individuality. I'm all about individual independence, individual freedoms. You know what I'm saying? But I also understand that community independence and community freedom and community power is important, right? It is important, right? Because community is how legacies grow, right? Like, I want to be isolated. I don't want to have to fuck with nobody. I don't want to have to be, you know what I mean? I want to be a hermit. I want to live off in the woods somewhere and build my little log cabin and hunt and fish all day and chill and, sit by a campfire at night and, all that shit and run through the woods and all that. Just be out in nature. I don't have to see nobody. I don't have to see anybody at any point in time in my life. But I do have a responsibility because I have children. And I can't. And eventually, when my children are grown, yeah, I can go do that. As a matter of fact, that's what I plan to do. You know what I'm saying? Once my children are grown and they're good and I know that they got life figured out, once I understand, okay, we did our part to build the black community or whatever, then I can go off into the woods and chill. You know what I'm saying? But I have a responsibility to my children. I have to build this legacy. So I have to deal with people for the time being for my children, because they might not want to be in the woods with me. They might not want to live the type of life I want to live. They might want to go out and do great things and be pillars of their community. They might be people. I'm not a people person, but my children might want to be people. So I have a responsibility to them to try to help build a community of people of like mind. Not necessarily a black community, but a community of people where we understand that we cannot rely on government. We got to do for self. We got to be sufficient. We got to be self-sufficient. We got to be utilitarian. Not utilitarian. Well, yeah, we got to have some, yes, we got to be utilitarian to a degree. We got to have some utility with the community. We have to be useful, right, in our community, right? Because that's how you maintain independence, because and freedom, right? Unless, like I said, you want to, every individual family wanted to go off. Like, if people didn't interact like they do now, where everybody has to be in everybody's business, everybody got to follow this law, that law, we got to have, United Nations, and we got to have this treaty and that treaty, and if people didn't have to operate in a world like that, where we had to have these structures that govern us, yeah, I would say that you ain't got to fuck with nobody if you don't want to. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, this is what we got. We do have these structures that govern us and govern our behavior, and by force. And so the best way to shield yourself from that, and to guard yourself from that, and defend yourself from that, is by building communities that understand that these structures are harmful. They're dangerous. We don't need them. They mean nothing but to control us. That's what they want to do. And that's, unfortunately, that's how it's going to be probably until the end of times. There's always going to be somebody or some group of people that feel like they have, they're better than you, that they have better knowledge, that they know what's best for society, and they're going to try and control you and control what you do. They're going to try to build agencies and structures and bodies that will dictate to you how you're supposed to live your life. This is the unfortunate reality of human existence. It doesn't have to be like that, right? You can minimize it. If only these people understood, these elites understood that if there are people that want to be governed, there are people that want to have their lives dictated to them. And those people, okay, well, they can go off and they can be in these communities. Why it doesn't have to be so widespread? That's the problem, right? That's why in my mind, that's why there's so much crime. That's why there's so much killing. That's why there's so much, of violence, because there's always these entities trying to clamp down on you and try to dictate your life. And, shit builds up in people. They don't want to be chained. They don't know how, and so they act out. They don't know how to act out in a productive manner. I honestly believe that there will be less unnecessary violence if no government existed. And I'm not just talking about less unnecessary violence from government. I'm talking about from individuals, from individual people. There would be less of that if people were left alone to their own devices. I think there would be less of that. There would be less senseless violence, less senseless killings, less senseless violation of other people. I honestly believe that. I feel like most people would mind their own goddamn business. Look at before governments and before rulers came into existence. Before that, when everybody had to, when there was no written language and people had to interact with each other with grunts and all that, and they just went out, they hunted, they fished, they gathered, and that's what they didn't have time to fucking think about killing each other. because they had to worry about all the other dangers. And yeah, they might fight over a kill and all the other shit. And they might kill somebody over a kill, but it's not a senseless killing. It's I'm hungry, you're hungry, I'm starving, you're starving. And right now my eyes are bigger than my stomach, and I just killed this buffalo and you're trying to take it. I'm going to kill you so I can keep my buffalo. That's not a senseless killing, though. That's not a senseless killing. Even for the person who's trying to steal the buffalo you killed, he's just as starving as you are. He's just as hungry. And that buffalo's already dead, and he feels like, hey, you're not much of a threat. I think I can take care of you and get this buffalo. To me, that's not even a senseless killing. It's hey, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in a society where everybody has to fend for themselves, there will be less senseless. I'm not saying there wouldn't be killings. But hell, even myself, if I'm starving, I got a wife and not a wife, but a woman and a boy or a daughter, or a boy and a daughter. I got children. I got mouths to feed. And my wife, my old lady is pregnant. My children are starving, and you got that buffalo right there, and you got your back to me. And you're sitting there trying to, harvest that animal. I don't know. Your back is vulnerable, and you didn't turn your back. Hey, I might not try to kill you necessarily, but if I have to, I will, to get that buffalo that's already dead, and my family is right down that path in a clearing somewhere. Hey, hey, I might have to. Hey, you might have to go. You understand what I'm saying? You might have to go. That's just reality. It's gonna be me or you and my family. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be, hey. So you got your back. You're butchering the animal. You're not paying attention because you're so hungry. You're focused on this. I might get a stick or something and hit you upside the head and take that animal, maybe tie you up. I don't know. I might not necessarily have to kill you, but if you put up enough of a fight to where I would kill you, hey, that's just a part of the game. You understand what I'm saying? Now, we don't have to do that. Not necessarily. Now, there are people that still steal from each other, all this, that, and the third, and it ain't right. It ain't right. So, what I'm saying is, and think about this: if it wasn't ever for industrialization and the proliferation of government rule, and all these advancements in technology and medical technology, we wouldn't have the population we have anyway. Like, it would be a much smaller population and a more sustainable population, I'd say. But not even that, because we're not overpopulated, right? In terms of all the land that we have available to us. It's just that we're overpopulated in certain cities. We overpopulate certain regions. And that's because we have been so sheltered and all the other shit throughout the decades that we would, no one has the desire to live off the land. Not really. And those that do, very, very small amount of people. And living off the land is not necessarily a class that you get in high school and in college. These are not stuff. That's not something that we're teaching. We're not teaching people how to be self-sufficient. We're not teaching people how to be able to live off the land if they had to. And the government feels like they own everything, so they have to have this level of ownership over the land. Federal land and all this, that, and the third, that really should be released to the people. I mean, it's really the people's land, right? Because the federal government essentially works for us. We pay the federal government to operate. So it's really our land that we should be able to see fit to do it what we want. But again, man, we live in a society where people don't value their own independence. They don't value their own freedom. They don't value that. They just value what society can provide for them, or they focus on what they can provide to society to be a crucial part of society. They want to, you know what I mean? It's like they want to be a pillar of the community. They want to be a pillar of society, of a grand society. They want to feel like they made it in this world. But what is making it? What does it mean to make it in this world? You know, pay your taxes on time, buy a house, pay your mortgage on time, pay your bills, have children, teach them to do the same thing, perpetuate the cycle. That's what people are satisfied with doing nowadays. Even business owners, even wealthy people. It's all about how they fit in to this society, how they look to people, how they, you know, how people feel about them.
Hazard reported ahead on I-20
Of course, there's a
east
hazard
300
reported
feet.
ahead
You're
because
still on the fastest route.
it's fucking Atlanta. Okay. Anyway, I think I proved I made my point. But anyway, and that brings me to the Supreme Court decision to and it's a horrible decision, right? The same Supreme Court that you know, the Bruin case, the same Supreme Court that appeared to have made the right decision on the Bruin case, you know, with the concealed carry laws, the shall issue, taking it from may issue to shall issue, and all this, that, and the third. They just made a decision that could create problems for people. This was a pretty hush case. Basically, it had to do with a union, the Teamsters, right? Specifically, concrete truck drivers. You know, with the concrete mixers in the back, they went on strike. Okay, so a bunch of truck drivers went on strike, and they walked out on a job where they left, basically, according to the contractors, right, that hire these the labor from the unions, they left the trucks running or something, and it fucked up a bunch of concrete, and they lost a lot of them. Basically, the contractor sued the union for the walkout, and they took it all the way to the Supreme Court. They appealed, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the contractors, okay? Right? Unfavorably for the unions. Now, this can create a problem, right? Because if you strike, basically what they're saying is if you strike and that strike cost the job money or the contractor money, well, then now you can sue the union, right? This is a problem. This is a problem. This is not just a problem for union people. This is a problem for non-union people as well. Understand that. Because right now, even though I was in union for 16 years, I'm not in the union anymore. I work for a non-union outfit. Imagine what precedent this sets. Because will this just be limited to unions? Think about what's going on here. And will this just apply to walkouts and strikes? Because now they're saying, the Supreme Court is saying, if you strike or you walk out, you do a walkout, and it costs the contractor money or the cost employer money, they can sue you for that. loss of money, right? Doesn't matter what led up to that walkout. Doesn't matter why you went on strike. The fact of the matter is you went on strike, it cost the contractor money, boom, we get to sue you. Well, what precedent does it set? What precedent does it set? Because it won't be just limited to unions. Understand that. Now we're saying that if, and again, does it just limit, is the ruling just limited to walkouts? Now, can it be that, well, if the contractor thinks you lost their money for whatever reason, they can sue you? Let's say you didn't go on strike, right? But you had an emergency. And you were instrumental in a crucial part of the job. But because you had an emergency and you left, they think, oh, well, because you left, we lost so much money. You set us back because you left. We couldn't fill in the gap fast enough. We lost $10,000, $20,000 because you left. Could they then sue you for that? If, understand, there are labor laws, right? There are labor laws in place. Y'all know how I feel about law. You fucking kidding me, man. Oh, I fucking hate Atlanta. I want y'all to see how far up. See those lights flashing up there? I don't know if y'all can see that. I can see it. You can't see it through my camera though, but way up there was an accident. That means traffic is backed up way to back here. This has added 24 minutes to my fucking drive. This is fucking ridiculous, man. Anyway, this Supreme Court decision could be very bad for everybody. Because let me tell you something. There are labor laws in place that protect workers nationwide, not just unions, right? Like the 40-hour work week. The 40-hour work week is in place because of unions. Now, the 40-hour work week applies to all workers, not just union workers, right? To where if you work your 40 hours, that's what you're essentially, that's what they can obligate you to work. After that, they have to give you time and a half. You know, 1.5 times your wage for those hours after 40. Or they can't make you work past that 40 hours. They can't make it obligatory. That's in place because of unions, right? So Imagine if the Supreme Court is making a decision like this, where the unions can't even do what unions do to protect the to protect the worker. Wow. Hell, at some point you might have to kiss that 40-hour work week goodbye. Because why do you strike? You strike, you walk off the job because of horrible conditions, whatever you're doing it for. And if the union reps or the union officers, because you can't just do it willy-nilly, you got to go through the proper protocols within the union. You got to, there has to be a vote. It has to be okayed by a number of people. You can't just do it willy-nilly. So that means that there has to be a good goddamn reason you're going on strike. The Supreme Court just made an unprecedented move to say, fuck that. Wow. Unprecedented. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. But see, here's the thing. This could ultimately be a problem for employers, because especially in this day and age with the type of people we have out, the type of people we have working these days, you think there's a labor shortage now? I don't know, man. You think there's a labor shortage now? If shit like this Supreme Court decision continues, people are not going to have the incentive to work. They're not going to have the incentive to work well. You're not going to get good guys to come to work for you. You're going to get lazy, entitled people, and you're going to ultimately lose money. Because that's also what was happening before the unions came about. People were getting tired of poor working conditions, so they wouldn't go to work. And there were a lot of deaths, a lot of injuries. It cost employers a lot of money. Listen. I mean, it was good that we had the union. Now, are certain unions greedy, and do they get, the union officers, do they get greedy? Absolutely. Some unions, some locals, union locals give unions a bad reputation. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We shall see what happens. Anyway, I've been on here for over an hour and a half. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Black Swan B1, Jay with Open Eyes 4 was good. Pastor NG was good. And Xander was good. Thank y'all for coming through. But I'm gonna go ahead and end this live stream and holler at y'all maybe tomorrow or whatever. Anyway, much likes, much love to y'all. Like, share, subscribe, and we're gonna keep marching forward toward freedom. Peace.